Good morning, radiant beings. Happy Sunday. Welcome to another conversation, conscious conversation with Natalie Clark and I. Today we're going to be talking about, what are we going to be talking about? Literally just wrote it down. We're going to be talking about creating space. How do we create space as moms? Moms are busy. Mom life is busy. Life is already busy as it is. And so, we're going to just have a conscious conversation about how we're creating space, how we're perceiving space. What does it mean to have spaciousness in your life? Where can you find it? Because it sure as hell doesn't feel like you can find it out there. Yeah, it feels tough. So I'm really looking forward to diving into this conversation. And, Natalie and I, we don't plan this, we just plan a topic and sort of see what comes. See what comes as we share our own experiences, as you guys share with us your experiences. So I'm looking forward to this conversation. Today, I will warn you, I'm coming from my bedroom because there are renovations happening in my house still. And so you may hear some impact drilling. There's not very much of it left. But yeah, so I'm up here because I've got some music going on down there and the renovations. So how is everybody doing this year? It's intense. January, we're only 9 days in, 8 days in, I don't know what day it is. And the energies have been super intense. And so, it'll be nice to reflect on how am I creating space in my life right now. Okay, so Natalie's here. I'm just going to bring her in. Hello, Natalie. There she is.
Hi, how are you
Hi.
guys?
Good. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Good.
Awesome. And Julie's here. Hello, doing great now that I see your beautiful face and hear your beautiful voice. Thank you, Julie.
Julie, you're so awesome. I love you so much.
Yeah, you are wonderful. Thank you always for tuning in. So, space.
Sorry, just I was in my room and I'm like, oh, stuff on the floor. I'm gonna just sit down and ignore it.
Yeah, my house is like in total renovation right now. So, like the main room when you
Okay,
walk in,
wow.
yeah, the main room when you walk in, that whole room has been torn and gutted, and the stairs have been secured, which is great. And it's just taking a lot longer. It always is. It always does, right? So,
Yeah, yeah.
but he has some final drywall pieces to put in today, and then we're moving on to the mudding and taping, which is great.
Nice.
Yeah, so I'm hiding out in my bedroom.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so welcome
Oh,
everyone. I'm Angie. If you haven't met me yet, I'm an intuitive spiritual coach, EFT tapping practitioner, and really I'm just passionate about having these conscious conversations. I'm passionate about bringing women together in community through sharing our spiritual wisdom, sharing our journey, sharing my heart, sharing tapping, talking about energy, because everything is energy. And so I love to share all the energy tools to help us master our energy so that we can live better lives, the lives that we're meant to live. That's what I'm here to do, right? And this is Natalie. I'll let Natalie introduce herself to you guys.
hey guys, I'm Natalie. I've known Angie for quite some time, and we reconnected a few years ago when we were each on our spiritual journey. So it was really awesome how we reconnected.
I know, I
Um,
love that.
and so I myself, I'm a homeschool consultant. Homeschool is my jam. I love it. So I really focus on homeschooling families, helping them make learning more fun for their kids, especially when it comes to reading. Um, and I also jam on nature, and I'm starting an outdoor learning session like winter sessions this coming Tuesday. And I'm really excited. And there's one more space left. So if anyone's interested, private message me um,
Oh, yeah.
after the live. Yeah, so yeah, it's really fun. Yeah, so I don't know, I just love working with families, man, and I love these conversations that we have every week, Angie.
Oh,
Um, they're so important because there's the spiritual aspect and there's the mom aspect, and each separately is can get super heavy and super complicated. But it really doesn't have to. And Angie and I are here just to simplify things for you guys,
yeah.
as much as we
Yeah.
can.
Yeah, as much as we can. We're humans. I like to
Yeah.
complicate things. Which is why we talk this stuff out loud, right? That's totally why we talk it out loud. Good morning, Rosalie. Thanks for being here too. Always so
Oh,
good
hi,
to have you.
Rosalie. Good morning.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's it. I just like we need to speak this stuff out loud because we know everyone's feeling these things, right? Like nobody talks about it. And
Yeah.
when you're on your spiritual journey too, it can be really lonely. Like it can be really lonely when the majority of the world does not support that journey. The
Yeah.
majority
And they
of
don't under
what we're taught,
yeah.
yes. Yeah, they don't understand.
Yeah.
And
And
so
they
when you start
yeah,
to
they don't
contemplate
understand.
it, yeah, it's not understood. And that can feel really
Yeah.
frustrating. And especially
Mm.
when you're in a family, in a household with people that don't understand what you're
Yeah.
trying to do or you're trying to
Yeah.
explore.
Yeah. Yeah. It can feel really lonely. And really
Can.
it can feel really frustrating too because um the ironic thing is when we start on this spiritual journey, when we really do the work to discover like who we really are inside,
Mhm.
we start our personalities start changing. We start changing the script, so to speak, of our lives, like kind of that autopilot. We start
Yeah.
breaking out of that autopilot. But then everybody else that we live with is used to a specific script. So then when you are changing things, then everybody else in your household's like, WTF, what
Like,
is
what
going
the
on?
hell
And
is
then
going on?
right? And then that brings up all these like underlying emotions. So maybe
Yeah.
they're like, I don't know, they start labeling things, right? But it's like this at the crux of it is you are changing, you are stepping out of the box, and nobody likes that. Even if they can't put it into words, they don't like it. And then and then things unfold, events unfold, relationships change, and you're just like, what? And then sometimes you try, because we're moms, we
Yeah.
try and step in, and then help them. Um, but often that it kind of like shoots us in the foot, not literally speaking, metaphorically speaking. But yeah. So actually, this is kind of on the topic of today. Angie and I wanted
Hmm.
to talk about how to create more space in mom life, whether that's physical space or internal space as well.
Yeah.
Oh, and
Yeah, I think it's
Jessica
so
popped
important.
on. Good morning.
Oh, hey, Jessica. Oh, nice to see you here. Yeah, it is so, so important, like to create that space when you're going through this. Because when you start on this journey, and I love what you said, like when we start on the journey, like we start changing the script. And it's true. People are like, what the F? And you don't understand it because you're just literally following like, oh, this feels so much better, right? And you start doing
Yeah.
this other thing that feels so much better for you. But it doesn't always feel good for the other people in your house, right? And
No.
it's almost baffling because I don't know, you can speak for your experience, but I know with my experience, and many that I speak to, it's like you are like, oh my gosh, this is so great, this is so great, these things you're awakening into, you might see the greatness in it and feel it and then be like, oh yeah, I want to live that way, you know? And so you start living that way and you think everyone's going to be so excited because we're all going to live this way, you know? But they're not ready. They might not be ready, or you're just catching them off guard, right? You're just changing the script. And so the reaction, though, that you get can be really jolting. It can be really,
Yeah.
really jolting. And that's why it's so important to create space. That's why this conversation, I think, is really important because we're always used to searching for things outside of us, right? So we need
Yeah.
others to create the space for us, or we need others to understand what we're doing. so that we can move
Yeah.
forward. But we don't need that. That's not true. That's an illusion, and we can create the space for ourselves.
Yeah, I love how you brought that up. We're looking for others um to validate us,
Yes.
right? To be
Yes.
like, oh, Angie, like I'm so happy that you're waking up and you're stepping out of the box and you're doing all these amazing things in
Yes.
the community and with your membership. And but that doesn't happen, right? Like
No.
nobody gets. Very few people are like, high five, you woke up. You're stepping out of society, or you're realizing that
Yeah.
there's a veil. Like nobody. That I mean, I will high five you for that, but I
Yeah.
mean, most people very far and few between. So this idea of that we need external validation, that we're just used to it, that is something that we can choose to step out of.
Yeah.
Because the truth of the matter is, you don't need any of the external stuff,
None of it.
because everything you need is right here, right? It's inside of you. And as we start to understand that, and as that slowly starts to become our truth,
Yes.
then it becomes easier and easier. And then later on, we start really seeing those results externally of, you know, uh, like again, like I validate myself, right? Like
Yeah.
I know I am doing the right thing for me, and I'm happy with that. And if it triggers other people, well, that's perfectly fine. I'm still going to be happy, because that's their stuff that they're working through. That's not my stuff, right?
Yeah, you know, the word that's coming up is catalyze, like catalyst, being a catalyst. Like you have to be okay with being the catalyst. Because if you are the one waking up in your family, you are catalyzing the family, the dynamic. And it's not comfortable. To be the catalyst is a really uncomfortable place for many people, right? Especially for women. And then that's just ingrained in us through societal conditioning, through years and years and years of suppression, right? Through patriarchy. But yeah, it's being comfortable with that is really important. Being comfortable with being a catalyst for change. But if you think about it, there was a spark that woke you up to wanting to change, right? And that spark was a catalyst for you and not comfortable for
Yeah.
whoever woke you up. You know, and this is the chain effect. I'm literally seeing, like, you know, the spark setting off the spark, setting off the spark, setting off the spark.
Yeah.
I'm just seeing here, Julie, right? When we make healthy changes, when others are not ready to make the changes for themselves, they often push against it to feel safe and comfortable. That's it. They just want to feel safe and comfortable. So did we. So did we.
Yeah.
So do we. We still do sometimes, you know? And Jessica says, "Oh, Angie, that is the truth. Thank you for saying that." Not sure what I said, but you're welcome. It is all truth though. Yeah. This is all
Yeah.
the truth of our experiences. So how do
Yeah.
you
I love.
go on?
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say, I really love, Julie, how you brought up, you know, that when we're doing healthy changes and positive changes for ourselves, other people, they push against it because, because they want to feel safe and comfortable, and that's all comfort zone, right? Like we each operate in a little story. We make up our little story, or we live a certain way because it makes us comfortable. Like that's and that is human. That's human nature. That's what's been programmed, because when we were living in caves, guys, we had to be safe because there were like saber-toothed tigers and like giant bears trying to, wanting to eat us or whatever. We had to protect our babies and our children. So this is ingrained in us of feeling safe. But right now in this world, we live in an awesome modern world, so we don't necessarily have all these dangers trying to eat us.
Yeah.
So the mind's like, oh, but I still have this mechanism, so I need to use it, right? So that's when often it's, and it could be something like, the way you do the dishes, or the way you cook, or the way how you walk into your house. Those are all comfort zones, just like the little habits that we have.
Yeah.
So there's like individual comfort zones, right? And there's also like group comfort zone of like, this is the family's comfort zone.
Yes.
Someone's stepping
Yes.
out of it, then everybody else is like, whoa, no, no, like get back over here, and they try and step you back in, and they don't do it. Well, they don't do it
No.
consciously, first of all, and they're not doing it out of ill will. They just do not realize that they're doing it because they haven't had that spark, as you
Yeah.
mentioned, Angie. They didn't have that spark event themselves,
Yeah.
right? Um, yeah. So we have to understand that, and just be aware of it, and because there's nothing wrong with them pushing back. There's nothing wrong with other people wanting to stay in their comfort zone because we're all on like imagine like this really really like super long highway, right? And we're all kind of walking down this highway, each one of us. Some people are at the point where they're about to get that spark of awakening, and some of us are more into our awakening, and some of us are still so asleep we don't even
Still
know, like people
automatic.
wouldn't even know
Yes.
what the hell we're talking about watching this video.
Yeah.
And that is all fine because we're all supposed to do this one at a time,
Yeah.
right? um so who knows where other members of your household are like on this really long highway, and that's part of their journey, right? But you may, like Angie said, you may be the catalyst of maybe you are the one that's bringing that spark to that person's journey or
Yeah.
life path.
And maybe you're not
um
too. Maybe you're not. That's
yeah,
okay
maybe
too.
you're not. Yeah, maybe you're not. Maybe we think we are,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
We're like, woo, but that's like spiritual ego,
Yeah.
right? When we're like, oh, I'm awake and I'm gonna wake up all these people.
Yep.
um yeah, we just have to again like being aware of how we feel about any kind of situation that we're running into,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And so bringing this to the topic of space, like
Yeah.
first of all, what is space, right? What is space? For me, space is I didn't think about this beforehand really. Internally, space is just space to process, like mind space. My mind is always, as mom, if I think about being mom, so many things are running through my head at all times, right? To keep the family running, to keep the household running. And so this is a place where I feel like I don't have space because I don't have any more mental space. So when you're awakening to new concepts, to new ideas, to, challenges in your own belief system and what you thought you knew. And that can put on a mental overload that you want to shut down. This is why people are unconscious. People are unconscious, even though they know some of these things that maybe we know, right? They don't let it enter. They don't let it enter the mind. I see a lot of comments happening here. Rosalie, I love this self-validation. Standing alone can be uncomfortable on both ends. I'm learning to be okay with the uncomfort. Yes. Get comfortable with the uncomfortable. So valuable. And that will take you really far, getting comfortable with the uncomfortable. Julie says, right. We can still have those physical fear responses. We have to tell ourselves we are safe, yes, and let our body know that we are okay and we are safe right now. Exactly, getting present and finding the safety in your presence. Like, even though I'm thinking this and I'm feeling fear and I'm feeling this strong response, this discomfort of being outside of the box, or somebody's trying to push me outside of the box, or somebody is jumping out of the box and I don't like what they're doing, right? We're safe right here, right now. And Julie says, it's hard to keep up with the comments sometimes. I was just taught by Yvette Rose the value of telling our bodies we are safe and okay now in the present moment. Yes, I do this all the time, and Julie knows, I think she hears me say this to the kids all the time. Breathe into your body. You're safe. Right here, right now, you're safe. Right here, right now, you are safe. That's how we create safety for ourselves. Even if we just had an accident or an injury, yes, we can talk to our bodies. We are safe right now, here in this present moment. Yes. That can be hard. Rosalie says that can be hard too, allowing each their own path. Yes. Especially as mom. If you're mom and you've been
Yeah.
running the household and now you're supposed to step back and allow everybody their own path, tough. So,
Yeah, that's like next level love, right?
yeah, yeah. It is a challenge, guys. It is, but it is absolutely possible little by little. Little by little, you mentioned it earlier in the conversation. I don't remember the words you used, but you mentioned about how you don't do this all at once. Like you might become aware of something. It doesn't mean you have to take it all in now. It doesn't mean you have to change right that moment. Let it
Yeah,
let
even
it
if you have the
percolate.
tool in your tool
Yes.
belt, you may not know how to apply that tool
Yeah.
until like years later.
Yeah, and that's
Who knows,
okay.
right?
That's okay. Space is time alone. Yeah, so space in my mind, like I think about mental space to process everything internally. And then I think about space as in setting boundaries on my time within this household for self-care, for whatever I need, for time for processing, right? And having time alone is part of that.
Yeah.
I started when my kids were little by giving myself timeouts. What a blessing that was and still is. Yeah, I remember when Julie first taught me that. Because, you give your children timeouts, right? Some people give their children timeouts, but you can give yourself a timeout.
Hmm.
If we're,
And make it a positive thing,
yeah,
right?
yeah. If you're teaching
Yeah.
them, like I give my kids like not timeout, but I give them space to feel their emotions. If they're having a really hard time, I stop talking and I tell them, okay, let's take a break. Why don't you go play, do something different, and then we'll come back to this.
Yeah.
Do that for
Yeah.
yourself. You're telling
Yeah.
them.
Yeah. Knowing when to stop talking. That was a big one for me. That was a big, like, uncomfortable thing. Because
Yeah,
I mean, those of you who know me, like, I just love chatting. And again, it's that mom thing of, and maybe even not mom, but I think becoming a mom just added on to like I want to help people. I want to
yeah,
like fix things. So sometimes it's like, and my kids will tell me now because now we're at the level in our relationship where they're comfortable, and I'm comfortable with them saying, okay, like,
that's
please
enough.
stop. This is too much. Yeah, this is just too much.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Um, and oh, we have Jasminka. What a lovely name. I hope I'm pronouncing it properly. Jasminka and Rhonda watching. So good
Oh,
morning,
hello.
ladies.
Good morning, ladies. Thank you for being here.
Yeah. So on okay, so like yeah, on that topic of, like knowing when to stop talking and stuff. So this is more creating that external space. Okay, so we'll
Yeah.
do internal and external, but let's start with external space of a lot of it is again staying in your lane, and this is so difficult for moms, and something that I recently learned was, especially in a household dynamic where you have, two or three or five or six people or whatever,
Hmm.
what realization has come to me recently in the last couple of months is that other people's relationships are none of my business. So the relationship that my husband has with our son, the relationship that my husband has with my daughter, the relationship that my children have with each other, right? That sibling relationship is none of my business, because often I would jump in and try and help or jump in the conversation, or and then I realized one day it is none of my business. Like if someone comes to me and asks me to facilitate something, to they bring a question to me, then yes, I'm happy to help them however I can in that moment. But I really stopped again jumping in,
Yeah.
um, and yeah, like because you think it's helping, but it actually isn't. And then once I started doing this, I again created more external space for myself, which also reflected in my internal space, because then I wasn't so like worried, or I wasn't like thinking in my head like, oh my God, like he said that, he shouldn't say that, or this person shouldn't. They should know that what they said was a trigger to that other person, and then it's going to turn into a shit show. I just stopped that. I'm like, and
Yeah.
those two people, right? They, whether or not the relationship is great and harmonious, or the relationship is kind of rocky, or it's on the mend or whatever, that is up to those people
Yeah.
who figure it out on their own, because it's their relationship. It's
Yeah.
not mine.
Yeah. It's their contract. It's their everything. they came together to learn lessons too, right? And to help each other heal and find out who they are. We're all reflections for each other. And so they are a reflection too. And every time we do that, every time we jump in, I've been very conscious about that too in my family. It's like I notice the urge for me to want to jump in when I hear them in the other room fighting or something. And I'll like want to come in, and I have stopped myself several times this week because the moment you jump in, you're interrupting their experience together. They don't get to see how it plays out. That's what I came to
Dude.
just this weekend. Like I was in the kitchen and they were fighting and I was about to jump in and I'm like, no, don't ruin their experience is what I got. Like, don't jump in on their experience.
Wow.
That's their experience, not yours. And you're right. If they invite me into it, okay, I'll come in.
That's different. Yeah.
But I'll come
Yeah.
in
Wow. Don't
respectfully.
ruin.
I'll come in respectfully, honoring their free will,
Mm-hmm.
honoring what they're calling me in for, right? Not as a,
Yeah.
oh, I finally get to say everything I want to say. No, not that.
Yeah. Yeah. Because again, that's your ego. That's our ego being like, we need to fix things or we need to whatever. And this is also all just programming, guys. Like we are just used to saying certain things, responding in a certain way, or reacting in a certain way once someone says something, or we overhear people in the other room. Sometimes we just feel it in our bodies, right? Like you said, like you were fighting the urge to
Yes,
like jump
yes,
in and go talk. That is a program that
yes,
is in your body. So it's just recognizing that, being like, oh, okay, it's okay that I'm feeling this
yeah,
way. I'm not jumping in, and it's okay that I like really want to jump in,
yeah.
but I'm not, and that's okay.
Yeah, honor the feeling, honor the urge, honor the desire to control it, honor the desire to manage it. You know, Julie used the word manage, and that's a word her and I use a lot too with control. Like you're trying to manage, like you're supposed to be the manager of the family, right? And you're trying to manage the
Yeah.
experience, and it's not your experience to manage. And
Damn. Good.
when you do, guys, when you stop, if you can stop yourself, like that example of me being in the kitchen, I'm doing dishes, and I hear them sort of starting to fight, not fight, but they're starting to, I can feel it, you know, and I want to jump in and be like, what's going on, right? And if you stop yourself, you'll notice it play out, and they'll come back together and be fine.
Yeah.
But
Because when we jump in, we're actually jumping in with our own drama, with our own
yes,
assumptions, our expectations of, oh, they took the toy away, and then
yes.
this always happens. We're bringing our assumption in for our expectation, whether it's negative or positive, and then it's going to play out because you energetically brought it into the room,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. When and if we think about emotion, emotion just moves through our body, right? It's just meant it's in energy in motion. So that energy is moving through the children's bodies right now, right? And I'm literally hearing it, I'm witnessing it, right? But the moment I jump in, I'm interrupting the movement of that emotion on them. Like you're hijacking it, you know? It's almost like a hijacking. You're hijacking the emotional response that they're having. And you're literally
Yeah.
sending a message that it's not okay. Like it's not okay. It's not okay how you're reacting right now.
Oh,
And it's not the message we
yeah.
want to send. And I know even at a surface level we might want to stop it, but that's about us. That's our discomfort with it.
Yeah, exactly. That's us being uncomfortable with whatever's going on externally.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So we have to instead be like, okay, I feel horrible over hearing this. And then we are brought into that portion of life of like we have a choice.
Yeah.
Like we have a choice. You have a choice to step out of your lane and go into that. I do that, and I will verbally say, I am stepping out of my lane because I need to say something. And then guess what? It always bites me in the ass after. Usually.
Damn it.
So we
Did
have
it
a choice.
again.
We have a choice, but the difference is I'm consciously stepping out of my lane, right? I know what I'm doing. So I think there's still like a slight degree of difference. But anyways, so we can choose to go out of the kitchen and go into the living room and,
Yep.
whatever, have that interaction. Or we can choose to go in the present moment and be like, okay, like why does this feel crunchy to me?
Yeah.
Or we can also choose to just, I don't know, go upstairs or go take out the garbage outside or physically, because sometimes we do need to physically step out of that room or out of that area,
Yes.
because it can seem a bit much, and that's okay. It's okay. You have choice, and there's probably like 50 other choices you could have in that
Yeah.
moment, but kind of tap back into yourself, like a radio in to your higher self and be like, okay, I have choices here.
What do I
I
need
can
to
only see
do?
3 choices, and that's okay. Maybe you see 10. That's wonderful. Maybe you see one. That's fine too,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's how you create space too. Like when literally
Yeah.
walking out of the room, like you can literally
Yeah, that
drop the
physical,
dishes.
that external space.
Drop the dishes. Nobody's
Yeah.
telling you you have to stay there and listen to what's going on. Nobody's telling you have to do that. You're telling
Yeah.
yourself that. And so you
Yeah.
could walk
Yeah.
outside, be like, okay, I'm gonna leave this experience, or you might make the choice to get out of your lane and go in there, right? That's fine. That's your experience to have too, right? Or you might step outside. Like I might step outside so I don't even have to hear it, and then I'll take some
Yeah.
breaths. You can also, something I'm really big on doing is like asking myself, what's the next right thing I need to do right now to feel better? And following the
Ah.
guidance, even if it seems ridiculous, just do it. Like I've had some really ridiculous ones that I've done, and then in the end, I feel so amazing after. I could have never imagined.
Yeah.
Because it'll be like clean a
That's a.
shelf, clean, do this, like drink some water, go to the washroom. Okay. You know?
Yeah. 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 Ask yourself,
Yeah.
right? Well, last week we talked about, talking to our bodies and listening to our bodies. But yeah, like even in those moments where it doesn't seem like it has anything to do with anything,
Yeah.
like when you're stuck, when you don't know what to do, just ask yourself, not your ego, right? But ask yourself or your body, your higher self, hey, what what will help me in this now moment? Like what will help me right now?
Yeah.
And then yeah, maybe it's dusting off a random shelf, you know. Okay, go with that. And it's always the first thing.
Yes.
So if that thought comes in of, go clean off this top shelf, and you're thinking, oh, that has nothing to do with anything. And then you're like, no, I should just finish cleaning the dishes.
Yes.
No, because
No.
the second thought, that's the ego, that instant that instant feeling or thought or however you translate those communications with your higher self or your intuition. Do that,
Yes.
because that is your intuition.
Do that
It's
thing.
always the very
Do
first
it.
one.
Yes. Do that
Yeah.
thing. It has led me to incredible things every time I do that. The most recent was like I just was on a coaching call, group coaching call, and we had visited our younger selves, right, in this meditation. And at the end of it, we had to ask ourselves, what's the next right thing we need to do getting off of that call? And mine was write a letter from my 15-year-old self to me now. And it was like, oh, that was weird. And literally, I was kind of like, that's weird. But then when I did it, I just realized she had more to say. I wasn't done in the meditation. She just wanted to say more, right? And so when I wrote the letter, I felt myself about to go do something else and not listen to that advice. I noticed it. Like I noticed me about to get up from my desk after we were done the call, and then I was like, "Oh no, I need to write that letter." And my mind started to say, "You don't have time for that. You don't have time to sit down and do that. You have to do this." But I was like, "No, I'm going to sit down." It took me 3 minutes. She just had a few things to say. You know what I mean? I did that. I dusted a shelf once. It didn't make sense. It was like dust only the 3 shelves out of 5. Like what? Like that doesn't. It was 6 in the morning too. Like dust 3 shelves out of 5. It doesn't make sense. But when I did it, I came across memories that memories that made me feel so good. I noticed some of my own growth by looking at things on the shelf. And then I found a book that I had been given to me 2 years ago that if I had read it then, it wouldn't have made sense. So I read it now. So this is really valuable, guys. Like listen to the first thing. If it's drink water, if it's go for a walk outside, if it's take 2 deep breaths, do it.
Yeah.
Sometimes I get like hug her. Like I'm so mad in a moment, right? At my daughter, let's say. And that's like become one of my new focuses is I create space during arguments with my daughter by just hugging her. The moment we start to argue,
Yeah.
I literally stop and I hug her.
Yeah.
And it dissolves everything, just dissolves it.
Mm.
Seeing lots of comments here. Perfectly timed pause. Tech is in sync with you today, Rosalie. Julie, yes, it's not our job to control and manage. I love that knowing. Thanks for bringing it up. You're welcome. It's a good reminder for us, for sure. Thank you. This can be so tough at times, not jumping in and trying to control the situation. It's very tough. Honor that. Just wanting to create peace instead of letting the emotions move through others. Yes, we're wanting to create
Oh,
peace for
yeah.
ourselves. This is why we need space, though, because we want to create peace, but we're doing it by trying to control other people to
Yeah.
get
And
that
we
peace.
think that creates peace,
Yes, but
but
it
it's
doesn't.
actually it's the opposite, right? Giving other people space so that they can figure out whatever they need to figure out, right? And that's actually
Yeah.
how you ironically, that is how you create peace is just by like letting people freak out on each other,
Yes.
not being a part of it.
Isn't it funny? It is funny. And that's how we create space for ourselves by giving space. We give
Yeah.
space, and guess what? It creates healing space for us because when we don't jump in, we're not avoiding what's going on inside us.
Oh,
When we don't jump in, we are also giving ourselves space. We're so focused
yeah.
outside of us. That's it. Just internally see the gift in internalizing, right? There is a big gift in internalizing, but it's tough. It is tough.
It
Yeah.
is, yeah.
So, yeah, thank you, Julie, for saying that. Exactly. We're just wanting to create space, create peace, instead of letting emotions move through others. Such valuable insights. Thank you. You're welcome. I'm loving this conversation. Exactly, Natalie, Julie says, we can choose our actions in the moment and choose to listen to our own emotions and find a way to process them in a healthy way rather than trying to go outside ourselves, right? And control anyone or anything outside of ourselves. That's the automatic programming for us. We go to controlling and managing,
Yeah.
especially with our
Because that's just
children.
how we were taught.
That's it. That's how
That's just
that's
how
how
we
it
were
was
taught.
done
And
to
it's
us.
yeah. And this is actually something that I realized yesterday, like, because I'm very much aware of like my thoughts and like the programming behind my responses and stuff now. So it's okay that we think that we need to manage people, like the behaviors and the habits that we're trying to change. It's okay that we have that original habit, guys. Because if we didn't have that urge to jump in and fix everything, if we didn't have this, like, I need to micromanage everything, if we did not have that, then we would not be able to experience stepping out of that, right? So that's what we have to, and that's part of like, is be easy on yourself. Of, all these things that Angie and I talk about. It again, like, yeah, we're humans. We're programmed with either subliminally, unconsciously, all these things. It's okay because if we weren't, we wouldn't be able to break out of them. We wouldn't have a box to step out of, right? So also
Yeah.
be easy on yourself when you forget, or when you catch yourself maybe in the middle of, you 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 stopped doing the dishes, you went into the other room, and then you started arguing with everybody, and then maybe 10 minutes later you're like, oh crap, I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
And then you start feeling bad, you start feeling guilty, or you're hard on yourself. Don't be hard on yourself. It's okay because you realized it. It doesn't matter how long it takes you, 10 seconds or 10 minutes. You realize that you saw that habit that you want to break out of.
Yeah. Sorry, I was a little distracted there. Disrupted
No, that's
there.
fine.
Julie
Yeah.
says hi, Leah. Love you. Love you. Yeah, but I caught some of what you're saying there. Exactly. Be gentle with yourself. That's the message I was hearing. Be so gentle
Yeah,
with yourself.
yeah, yeah. So what about creating internal space? Do you want to jump on that a bit? Because again, it's tied into that external, but maybe a bit more specifically of like what is internal space, maybe, and why do we why should we want to have internal space? Because sometimes I find, we talk about how to get it, but it's like, why do you want to get it, right?
Peace, that's what's coming in. Peace. Because when you have internal space, you have peace. Even no matter how chaotic anything is around you, if you can cultivate internal space, and internal space for me is moving from the head into the heart. Because I was shown in a meditation with Jesus. Jesus showed up in one of my meditations, and one of the things he made me do was put my hand on my heart. And all he made me do, he kept on saying it, like focus in, feel the vastness, feel the space. There is unlimited space in the heart. There is not in the mind. And this is why I'm really drawn to Buddhist teachings, because in Buddhism, we really talk about the teachings really train us to understand that there is a complete spaciousness within us when we let go of thought and we cultivate the practice of letting go of thought, because thought won't end. We're not trying to control it. The same way we're talking about externally controlling, the thought is something you're trying to control all the time too, internally. And when you're not doing that, when you're allowing thoughts to just be, and then thoughts always grow out of nothing and then they go into nothing if you let it go. And we
Yeah,
don't need to know what that nothing is. All we need to do is move from the head into the heart, which comes with awareness, right? Because if you're unconsciously thinking all the time, which we're unconsciously running thoughts all the time, right? But the moment you bring it into consciousness, you now have choice to follow the thought, do something with the thought, engage with the thought, or you can also sit back and fall back into your heart. And in the heart, you'll find spaciousness. So that's what it is for me. So Julie says, yes, Angie, unlimited space in the heart. Yes. And that's what Jesus kept saying in my meditation. It's vast. Feel it. Feel it. But I like, of course, the mind starts trying to label it, right? What's happening in my experience. And he literally just kept saying, no, no, feel it. Feel it. Feel the vastness. And the moment I felt that vastness, it was overwhelming, like beautifully overwhelming. But the moment I felt it, I was like, oh, there's something there. And then I got led to the Buddhist teachings, which teach me literally practical skills on how to do it. And the skill is just to let go of thought and land back into your heart.
yeah.
Ironically, that is
That
the
was so beautiful. Thank you so much for
yeah.
sharing that. Yeah,
That just
eh,
came. I don't know.
yeah. And as you were sharing that, I had an image of like we are the center of our own universe,
Yes.
and I had like an image of like in the eye of the storm, it's calm,
Yes.
right? You are when you can tap into like that true self, that inner peace, heart that heart chakra, that inner spaciousness. You are the center. You are the
You are the
peace.
calm. You
You
are
are the
the
peace
calm.
that the world needs. You
Oh,
are the center.
yes.
You are the calm in the storm. Because when we can really like dive in, and sometimes it's scary to dive in because we're diving into the unknown, right? It's like this big chasm that it's like, okay, just jump in, who cares? Like complete trust, right? Complete trust in your higher self. When we do that, it doesn't matter what's going on externally,
That's right.
because we have touched that truth of like there's of like that the truth of like really like that present moment. Like that's what that inner spaciousness is just right now.
It's your
Like
essence right now.
right now, it's
Yes.
like going into like that, like what my mentor says, go into go into this second, like go into like the millisecond, right? Of like you're actually like slowing down time.
Yes.
Yeah. And the and how we're always in our head, right? Which again, not to diss
Okay.
the mind or the brain. It's a beautiful tool. It's a really important tool that we have. And but it's interesting because humans are so focused on the mind. We're so used to living in our head that like there's like an energy with thoughts and everything, right? Because it's a different mechanism than, let's say, like using your hand to eat with a fork and things like that. There's a different intellectual, um, perhaps intellectual isn't the right word, but I'll just go with it, intellectual energy with thinking and the brain and everything. But there's also a different kind of energy, like that very similar energy in our hearts. And I'm not saying like the heart, like when we say the heart, we're not talking about the organ. It's there's an energy center
Mm-hmm.
near the heart, near the organ.
Yeah.
And that's at least what I'm referring to here. But there's a deeper intelligence in there, guys. So a lot of people call
Yes.
it like infinite intelligence or God or the universe, source,
Your
whatever you want to
blueprint,
call it, is
like your
perfectly
blueprint
fine.
is there. Yeah.
Yeah, but it feels like, and I've touched that several times, and I mean, the best way to describe it is the universe. Like there's a universe inside of you. Like that is how spacious it
That's
is.
where the
It's
space
never
is.
ending.
Exactly. That's it.
Yeah, and when the first few times that you feel it, you're like, oh, like this is what like all the teachers are trying to explain, right? All the spiritual teachers, the new thought teachers. This is what they're trying to get us to realize is there is this spaciousness within us that connects us to everything. And that's that inner spaciousness that if you can tap into it, if you can just scratch it,
Yes.
then you're gonna find like such a vastness of peace, and it's so calm there, and you're just so centered because you know that like you're connected to everything, and whatever's going on externally in the long run doesn't matter. It may matter in the short run because just about how
It's
our
our
brain,
reality.
yeah, our reality, like how reality is translated in this like physical plane, right?
Yeah.
But really it's just a blink, like our human lifetime, like even generations of human lifetimes, it's just a little blink in the whole universe. And
I love
so
how
what
she's
I find,
Rosalie says she loves how you're describing this. I love how you're describing this too. Keep going.
oh,
Keep going.
thank
Yeah.
you,
So
yeah.
great.
And yeah, I mean, when it's just, yeah, when you feel that, again, that I call it like the inner universe, there's just such a calm because you just feel so much more connected to everything. And that connection, you can't replicate it when you're trying to fix things externally,
Yeah.
right? Because again, you all have this internal universe, but so does everybody else on the planet. I don't care how deep down low vibes they are, or if they're like, the next Buddha. I don't care who it is. Every single person on this planet, or every single being really, has this.
Yes.
Um,
And you're
but
connected
it's just,
to them through it, but you're not
yes,
connected to them in this external space. There's this separateness.
yes.
It's
Oh, I
in
love that.
here.
Yeah.
It's in there. When you scratch that surface, I love how you said that. Like when you scratch it, just that little scratch is huge. You feel it. And you can't deny it once you've felt it.
Yes, you can't deny
You
it. Yeah. And
cannot.
it's really hard to explain too. So I'm
It
very
is.
thankful that I'm able to translate this for you guys
You
in this
are. You're doing so
way.
beautiful. It's such a beautiful description. Yes.
And I love how you said how, how again we're trying to fix everything, or we're trying to help people and everything, but we are taught you have to do this externally. You have to
Yes.
you have to do all these things. And yes, physical action is, there's a time for it, right? But we need to put the focus back in on, I mean, half the stuff that we can do to help people and to help others and to help ourselves is just internally just be present and be present to what you're feeling, what you're thinking, and all those things. You just start scratching at the the walls that we've created around
Yeah,
ourselves, that veil. And I mean, the veil's there for a reason, guys, because as we're experiencing this, it brings you so much, again, so much validation, like self-validation, self-confidence, and just this knowing that is impossible to describe. It just, I mean, that's part of the experience, right? Of going, doing this, all the trauma that we've been through, all the trauma that humanity has been through. Well, there's a reason for it, because if it wasn't such a completely shitty experience, then, like, on the other side of that is
the
so much love and
grandest
so much
experience.
empowerment,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah, it leads us to the grand experience. Like that's why touching the surface is so profound, because look at how big the opposite of that is.
Yeah.
But guess what? It's that big on the inside here too. Do you know what I mean? Like the
Yeah.
mind focuses on that, the heart knows something different, right? And something I wanted to, sort of end on here, like, okay, well, we're coming to 12 o'clock, but I really wanted to say something about the mind is not the enemy, right? Like, even though we're trying to detach from the thoughts, right? That's how you create the internal space. That's how you move into your heart, right? Is by choosing to detach from the thoughts. But so here's the thing, we have this universe within us. And we can create whatever we want. It's infinite. It is completely infinite. But we need to bring it into the physical plane for our experience. You need the mind for that. So we listen so much to the mind, but the mind isn't accessing this universe. But guess how the mind can access the universe? When you choose your heart, when you open that, when you release the armor. This is why I love, like, I wish people in the membership were on this call, because we talk about these Lojong trainings, and that's everything that these trainings are about, is how to do this, is how, literally how to do this, how to decalcify the armor we've put around that heart, because that armor we put around is around our universe, infinite potential, our universe. That
Yeah.
is what we've done. And when we get into there, when we can scratch the surface, that vastness now can come through. It's like opening up a channel between the mind and the heart. And when we can now work in tandem, and we can work with the heart and everything we want and everything that is available to us, when we now know this through our heart, we can now guide the mind consciously to create what we want, because we create with thought. And so this is
Yeah.
so important. Like, and that might be, getting deep, but, like, guys, the key is just practicing letting go of thought and going into the heart. The heart will guide you. The heart will guide you. You just have to consciously go there. The heart will guide you on what's the next
Yeah.
right action in this situation so that I feel better. The heart will guide you. But you have to go there. You have to choose to go there for that guidance
Yeah.
to happen.
Yeah. Because the heart's your cell phone to your higher self,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
So we have to clean out the communication, you know.
Yeah.
The metaphor is not coming to me right now, but whatever.
I love that, though. It is a cell phone to your higher self. It's true. You want access to your higher self? It's not through here. It is through here. And your higher self
Yeah.
is always guiding you for your highest potential, because it knows your highest potential. It knows why you came here. It knows beyond the veil.
Yeah.
Your higher self knows. Your higher self was here to be a
Yeah.
partner. We're never alone. We're actually never alone here. We never have been.
No.
Never have been.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm.
Thank you, Julie. Julie says she loves the way we're both describing this space within. So beautiful and such valuable insights. Your words are creating a fantastic picture, and it's so clear to see through your words. Yeah, that means a lot, like Natalie
Oh, I'm
said, because
so
it's
glad.
hard.
Yeah,
It is hard to describe.
it is.
This is what
And I
drives
was
us.
visualizing it in my, yeah, I was visualizing it too. So I'm really glad that came through to you,
Yeah,
um, Julie. Yeah.
yeah.
And that's, I mean, everybody can do this.
You
It's
can all
just
do it.
getting to the point where you're just, again, like imagine like a rusty like kitchen pipe that's full of like grease and junk and calcium and everything. We're just, we're putting the Drano in, but
Yeah,
more environmentally friendly. And then there's just a more clear pathway,
yeah.
right?
You clear the
And
gunk.
then you can also, yeah, and then it's easier for you to translate, to bring words and images to other people, because your kitchen faucet, or your, whatever is more clear. So that not only is it more clear for you, but you can also,
Yes, you
you have access to this higher information, and you also have the ability to send that information to whoever needs it right now,
yes.
in this moment.
Yes, and it's so powerful. You can do so much work from the heart. So you don't have to get involved anymore. Like, this is the thing. We control and manage, and we think we have to do things. We're moving away as a collective, right? From doing to being. And when we're being, we're in our heart. We're in our heart when we're being. And from the heart, it's like an endless energy that we can send out, that we actually, we don't even need to send it out. It it sends out. You scratch the surface, it just starts going out. It just starts flooding out from you,
Yeah,
just by you being. Like, I just love where this conversation has gone. This is why Natalie and I
yeah,
wanted to bring this to you guys, because these are the conversations we have. And it's so beautiful. Rosalie says it's bringing up
yeah,
emotions, so beautifully moving. I'm feeling really moved by this too. Thank you, Rosalie, for sharing that. And Julie says, yes, we need to create the space within to listen, hear, and understand what our heart wants. And when we listen, we can then use our minds to create that world of inner peace in the external world. Yes. And that ripples out. When you create peace in your external world, oh, guys, everybody benefits. Everybody benefits from that peace.
yeah.
Your family benefits. And they'll still continue to argue, and they'll still continue to run emotions, because let's be honest, we all do. We all run emotions, all of them.
Yeah. Mm. What a beautiful conversation
Oh,
today.
I
Thank
love
you
it.
so much, guys.
We've like, I'm
Yeah.
literally feeling like, so all the space in my heart. Like, we scratched the surface together here.
Yeah, they feel so connected to everyone on this call. It's so amazing.
Yeah,
Thank
you
you,
guys are
everyone
the
who came into
best.
the chat.
Thank you so much. Anybody who hops in on this replay, we love you too. And the energy is still here when you come in.
Yeah, whatever, even if you're watching this
No
10 years from
matter.
now,
Yeah.
it's all live.
It's all now. It's all now.
Yeah,
Oh, I love
yeah.
you guys. I love you, Natalie.
I love you too, Anne.
Thank you so
So I
much.
think this is probably,
Look at that. We're
yeah, a
ending
good
at
way to
12.
round off today.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
So space, so
Awesome.
we create the external space by creating the inner space. I think that's what came
Yeah,
through today, is that this inner space is what
yeah,
creates that external space.
yeah. And
Oh,
again, remember, we always have choice, right? So sometimes we do have choice to do those
yes.
external, those physical, visible movements, like stepping outside, or stepping into the living room and stepping out of your lane. Again, these are all choices that we are making consciously. So it's a fine balance, right, of the energetic, the spiritual things that we can do along with the physical things, because we can't forget the physical things.
No.
We just need to put put more importance on the energetic, so that it's more of a balance,
Yes,
right?
that's
Because
exactly
we are
it.
in a physical world.
That's exactly it. That's exactly what's happening in this evolution and this ascension. And it's okay. Like, it might be necessary for you to do that step outside. Like, that might be necessary
Yeah,
for your journey. So this is where you were talking about, don't be hard on yourself if you do. Even if you know there's a
yeah,
space within, it doesn't mean that you don't step over the line and you don't step out of your lane, because we do that for purpose. We do that to help us, right? It heals us, it
yeah,
helps us, we're healing. And maybe you need to do that. Maybe you need to have that experience. Maybe they need to have that experience. Who knows?
Yeah.
It's all
And
right.
always go, I feel like I need to repeat this, always go with the first thought, that first
Yes.
feeling, that first intuition, because that's your intuition.
Yes.
So maybe it's, okay, put down the dish rack, Angie, and go step outside. Even though you're like, oh, but it's like -30 outside. I don't want to do that. Just
Just do it.
do it, right? And then who knows what's going to happen after that,
Yeah, that's
right?
the invitation this week, guys. That's the invitation. Do that. Follow the next thing. Ask yourself, what's the next thing I need to do right now
Yeah,
to feel balanced, to feel restored? And then do it.
yeah,
And then tell us about it.
yeah, yeah. Oh, well, thank you
All
guys
right.
so
Thank you.
much. Yeah.
I love you
Okay, we'll
guys.
see you guys next
Have a
weekend. We
wonderful
love you guys.
Sunday. Bye.